jealous. Maybe when I'm with this friend, or I'm with this family member, or I'm seeing this or that, I become a jealous person. And that's not something to run away from, but it's something to face. Why, when I see this, I become jealous? Okay, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Nobusa Matabela, and you are watching the Tando YouTube channel, a channel that aims to build a community of women who are all about self-love, self-appreciation, self-acceptance, and self-commitment. Today we're actually talking about self-love and self-acceptance together, because they actually go hand in hand. You can't love something you're not accepting. For you to love something, you have to accept it as it is, then you love it. But accepting as it is does not mean you don't improve it where it lacks, or where it has weaknesses. So today we're talking about that. Let me get into the video before I waste any more of your time. But before I do that, thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed. Thank you so much to everyone who likes the videos, who watches the videos. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much. Let's get into the video. Okay, so every time, I'm just going to get right into it, right? So every time we talking about self-love, or we think of self-love, it's always nice, it's always fun, it's always nice, it always feels good. It's always about affirming yourself, standing in the mirror and saying, I'm beautiful, I'm amazing, I'm strong, and all those things. And it's about, most of the time, it's about telling yourself the things that you love about yourself, and it's all good and nice, it's all good and well. But it's important that we also look at the things that are not so great about us, that are not so nice about us, that we look at our weaknesses, that we look at our where we lack, and where really we're not so great, right? It's so important, because when you love someone, or when you love something, it's not only about the good side of that thing, or the good side of that person. And it's not only about saying, wow, you're amazing, wow, you're great, or this thing is amazing, this thing is great. It's also about saying, you know what, here I think you're lacking and you need to improve. And it does not come from a place of judgment and condemnation, but it comes from a place of love, because you love that thing, or you love that person so much. You want it, or let me say a person, you want that person to be at his best or at her best. You want that person to thrive and to grow, right? So when you're saying, you know what, you're not doing great in this area, or this area you're lacking, or I see this and that and I'm worried about it, it's not coming from a place of you don't love that person. Is coming from a place of, I actually love you so much that I'm able to recognize certain things that are stopping your progress or hindering you, and I would love to work, and I would love for you to work on that, and I can help you if I can, because you love that person. Same with us. For me, I think it's very important that when we speak of self-love, or when we think about self-love, we take it and we place it in a box where we are in a relationship with someone else, be it a friend or anything, where we are what that we compare our self-love with the love that we have for other people, because it's easy for us to love other people, to encourage other people, to correct other people, but it's difficult for us to love and correct ourselves the way we do with other people. Like when, like, think of your best friend, think of your mom, your sister, your sister, especially if you have a close relationship with your sister. You're able to love them, but you're able to correct them, you're able to encourage them. You're able to say, don't say bad things about yourself, do this, do that. You're able to love them in a healthy way, where you're able to correct them and say no, or say so same with us. I think, like, self-love, most of the time when we speak about it, is all nice and well, but it's important that we face the things that are not so nice and well. So how do we do that? First of all, we start by recognizing the things that we don't really love about ourselves, because when we talk about self-love, or when we focus on self-love, we tend to suppress these things that you don't love about ourselves. Let me make an example about our physical state. Let's say I love my eyes, but I don't love my ears. So I'll focus on my eyes so much that I completely ignore my ears, but I need to love my ears as well, because I need to love my whole self. So I can say I love how kind I am, I love how generous I am, and completely ignore that I can be jealous, and completely ignore that I can be so insecure, and completely ignore that sometimes I struggle with anger, So I focus on those things so much, and I pretend and act as if these other things do not exist. And because they are there, they'll keep on growing and growing and growing, and someday they'll become something bigger that grows into something that could have been prevented. So it starts by recognizing the things that we do not actually love about ourselves, so that we can accept them and begin to love ourselves with them while working on them. For example, let's say I'm an insecure person, or there are certain insecurities. I believe we all have insecurities, but there are certain insecurities right now in my life that are manifesting themselves, that are just coming into the surface, and I can see that, okay, so I'm being insecure in this area and in that area, and this is causing me to be this kind of person. So I'm recognizing that thing, and I don't suppress it and say no. Obviously, when I recognize it, I'm going to feel bad. Sometimes I may feel guilty and shame and try to just ignore it, but that's not loving myself. That is actually bad for me. What if I'm going to suppress it and ignore it? It's bad for me. So I'm going to say, okay, I see this, and I'm going to face it. I'm going to face it and say, how can I work on this? Where does this thing come from? Where does this insecurity come from? How can I improve it? How can I work on it? And you start by accepting that, okay, I accept that I'm insecure in this area. I recognize it and I accept that I'm insecure in this area. And because I love myself, I'm going to work on this until I conquer it, and I will grow from this experience of conquering this thing. So I recognize that, okay, I feel like I'm not enough. That's my insecurity. I am not enough. When I find myself in certain situations, I act in a certain way because I feel like I am not enough, and that comes from this and that and that. How do I get myself to a place where I feel I am enough? Not only feel, but where I believe that I am enough, so that even when I get into these situations that cause me to feel as if I'm not enough, I'm able to feel and believe that I'm enough, and conquer this and conquer this. And in that way, you're growing. In that way, you're loving yourself. If you feel like, you know what, there are certain situations that cause me to be jealous, maybe when I'm with this friend, or I'm with this family member, or I'm seeing this or that, I become a jealous person. And that's not something to run away from, but it's something to face. Why, when I see this, I become jealous? Why, when I experience this, I become a jealous person? Where does it come from? Does it come from a place of lack on my part? Does it come from a place of comparing myself with people? Where does it come from? And then you deal with it and you work on it until you actually see that, even when I do this, I no longer feel this jealousy. Even when I do this, I no longer feel this insecurity. That means I have conquered this. That means I have learned. That means I have loved myself through this. So we need to love our whole selves. It's not about only focusing on the things that are so great about us, the things that people compliment us on, but it's also finding the things, our weaknesses, and the things that we struggle with, and the negative emotions. It can be shame. There are certain times where you feel shame, where you feel jealousy, where you feel guilty, when you feel insecure, when you feel you're not enough, where you feel you're not worthy of certain things, and you ignore those things, and you focus on, I'm just great. I'm just great. Every morning you wake up, you look yourself in the mirror and like, girl, is so amazing. But yet there are these things that you don't love about yourself. There are these things that you're ignoring. So that means you're not loving yourself as a whole person, as a complete person. You're only choosing these things to love about yourself, and that's not good enough. You need to love yourself as a whole being. And that does not mean that you love it. You say, I'm a jealous person and I love myself as a jealous person. Yes, you love yourself as a jealous person, but you work on it. You accept it and you work on it, so that you can get out of that space and really get into a space where you truly love yourself, because you've conquered being a jealous person. You've conquered the certain insecurity. You've conquered shame. You've conquered guilt. You've conquered embarrassment. You've conquered anger issues. You've conquered bitterness. You've conquered rage. You've conquered many things that you see which they're not helping you, they're not good for you, and they make you feel bad. You love yourself because you've come to a place where you've accepted these things and worked on these things and got out on the other side feeling so great because those things are no longer a problem for you. And this is not a 1 day thing, this is not a 2 week thing, it's not a 2 month thing, but it's a constant journey of, because you can conquer jealousy and the next day you're dealing with anger, and you conquer anger, and in 5 years you're dealing with bitterness, and you conquer bitterness, and in 6 years time you're dealing with unforgiveness, and in 10 years time you're dealing with shame. So we're constantly growing and constantly learning, and something is always going to come up that you don't love about yourself. Hence, self-love is a journey until we leave this earth, until we die, because they're constantly going to be things that you're like, ish, I don't want to look at this part of myself. I don't want to deal with this thing. I'm just going to put it aside and focus on the great things. But that's not fully loving yourself. So self-love is not only about the nice things about us, but it's also about facing the things that are not so great, not so lovely, not so good about us, and then working on them. We recognize them, we accept them, we work on them patiently, and we work on them patiently. You're not forcing yourself to be like, I'm no longer jealous, I'm no longer feeling shame, I'm no longer guilty, no more anger issues. No, you're lying to yourself. Be truthful to yourself. Even when you're dealing with it, you're gonna experience it. Even if I say I'm dealing with my anger issues, and then the next day someone does something and I'm furious and my anger issues come into play, it's not for me to say I've failed, I mean ngiyahluleka. No, it's for me to say ingibambile futhi, how do I deal with it better next time? I'm feeling this shame, I'm feeling this guilt. How do I deal with it better the next time? And you work on it, and you're patient with yourself, and you just work on it over and over again until you conquer it, and then the next one comes and you work on it as well. So that is self-love. That is self-love. Do not ignore the not so great things about yourself. Accept them, love yourself while you're working on them, and just conquer them, because you can. You have the strength, you have the power, you have everything you need to conquer those parts of yourself. So that is what I wanted to talk about today, that self-love, yes, standing in the mirror and affirming yourself, or meditating, or closing your eyes and saying, oh, it's so amazing, it's great, it's good. But also, let's look at the parts of ourselves where we like and then work on them, because that is love. When you love something, you want it to be at its best. Same with you, my lady. And that is where we close the video. Cut. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. I love you so much. And you know what, I hope you're going to start on this journey of understanding that self-love is just more than about affirmations and journaling and exercising and eating well and all these great things. It's also about facing the difficult things about ourselves and facing our reality, accepting it and dealing with it, so it's tough, but if we love ourselves, we can do it. We can definitely do it. So thank you so much for watching. I love you so much. Make sure you subscribe, you call a friend to subscribe, you call other friends to subscribe, and you like and you comment and you share the video and do all those lovely things. I love you, and have a fantastic week. Mwah!